Carrie, it's great to see you. How are you this morning? Thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you, Bryan. It's awesome to be here as always. I always love the opportunity, so thank you very much.
And, we've worked together over many years. I knew you way back in the day when you were at Gold's and all the work we did together in Les Mills over the years when we had the distributorship. And then, of course, your time as the chairwoman of IHRSA, now HFA. And then, of course, Style Studio, which is your big endeavor that you've taken on in the last couple of years. Tell us and the listeners about your story and styles and a little bit of your background and where that brings you to today.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Style Studios Fitness, I opened in January of 2020 here in Central Illinois. It was a passion project, something I started creating as a unique model back in 2017. And it took me that long. I was living in New Zealand at the time and shifted back to the United States and closer to family and founded this club of studios model. And so for me, it was looking at the industry through the eyes of the research that we had at the time during IHRSA, or now HFA, and noticing how our industry was evolving and what consumers were after. And at the time, it was kind of apparent to me that there was our, middle market gyms, low cost, high volume gyms, health clubs, and then there was single modality boutiques. And for me, it felt like the future was eventually the customers were going to have a desire that to have multiple of those single modality boutiques inside one facility so that they had a higher convenience at a more economical price tag because they could access all of them at once. So this was kind of where that model stemmed from. And I've been operating it now like 6 years. Last year went on the journey. It was always an appetite to try for expansion of this model. Just given where I'm at, it was kind of obvious that maybe I set up a franchising model. So we did that last year and just kind of set the foundation to be able to grow. We're not in a massive hurry, but part of that journey has been really nailing our client journey, both digitally and in person, and what kinds of tech do we adopt or make sure we have in our ecosystem here to really nail that so that it's rinse and repeatable. So that's kind of where I'm coming from today with you in terms of where the journey I've been on as an operator just in the last year or so, of really trying to refine and hone that rinse and repeatable, awesome digital and in-person client journey through the tech we've got.
Yeah, and that's what we've been talking about. Of course, you sit on the board of the Fitness Industry Technology Council as well. And a lot of what we try to figure out is how to make life easier in designing a tech stack that actually works. And it's not as easy for a lot of people that are on this listening in. They would, I think, identify with this. This is a real challenge. And you've been talking about it for a while now. Before the pod, we were chatting about it. Can you point out some of these challenges that you see, things like integration of different solutions through APIs? I mean, there's so many things. Pick your top three frustrating points that you've had in going through that journey.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's so interesting. So, like I mentioned, it's almost like if you separate it into two lanes, you have your digital client journey, which that's their interaction with your website, your app, how they book, buy, and stay with you, in terms of how they're interacting with all of your digital ecosystem, your tech stack over here. But then there's also like when they walk through the doors, right? And that's everything from the access control, if it's RFID, and how those things, how they book and buy and interact with your staff, if it's personal training or if they're attending a class, how do they check in and it's not frustrating, right? And those two things have to be so smooth, right? And this is where I think some of the frustrations come in. Is I find that certain pieces of technology that I'm relying on, whether that's CRM or access control or how things interact, it might be smooth in one component and then it's clunky for the customer on the other side, right? And which causes more friction. And really, at the end of the day, we just want to be easy to do business with, right?
Right.
It needs to be smooth, right? And
Yeah.
I would say another kind of stemming off that frustration is that, you know, a CRM that we use might make it easy for someone to buy an online membership, but then it doesn't make it easy for them to book their body composition scan. So I have to then rework my website with a different booking calendar, and those two things don't
Right.
interact, right? So it's
Right.
causing more friction, both on the customer side and the staff side, operational
Yeah.
side. So things aren't quite great yet.
No, they're not. And some even, studios, which is yours a little more complex. I don't know if that's the right term, but it takes a little bit more effort, I'm pretty sure, with the features and functions because you're booking classes, you're doing all these different things, where in other concepts, if they're low price, high volume type clubs, it's a little more membership only. But it's, many of people like you and even small regional multi-location operators, they may be operating 12 different software as a service platforms to run their business, right? I mean, and then you're going from one thing to another, and then in theory they're supposed to connect, but it's not that easy, right?
Right. And I've really tried to make the tech stack as minimal as possible, for that reason
Yep.
that you just said.
Yep.
I mean, one, it's way too costly to have too many things
Yep.
going on at once, but
Yep.
trying to make it as simple as possible, but also solve all the issues of making the complexity feel smooth, right? It's hard to do.
Yeah, it is. And then you have these different vendors you deal with, right? And they may be good at one thing, and they're
Mhm.
kind of in that realm, but they're not good at other things. And then you get the whole finger pointing dynamic that can tend to raise up when you're trying to get something done. And then it's, well, who's supposed to do this? And they really no dog in the fight for one vendor versus another sometimes. That's frustrating as well, isn't it?
Yes, I've dealt with that this year. Just in terms of a CRM I desire to go to and wanting it to integrate with my access control, and then 8 months later, here we are, and they're still not integrated. For whatever reason, it could be API call fees and things
Yeah.
that they are working on in the background. But as operators start to, as our industry starts to kind of grow and expand in these different types of models, these softwares need to keep up. And I think
Yeah.
we're seeing some, I guess, older versions of software that are the foundational, platforms for a lot of these CRMs that we would like to use, and they're just too antiquated to do what we need them to do these days. So there's a gap, and I this year I've really felt the gap, right?
Yeah, but you're doing a lot of the good things, like we were talking about. Number one, I would tell you that, and you know this because we've talked about it, and I'm sure many of the listeners can identify with this, is you got to start by just charting out exactly what kind of experience you want to create across that divide. And a lot of people, I think, historically, they're get focused on a few feature things instead of looking at things completely overall. That takes a lot more work, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think if there's advice I could give to any operator about this particular thing is take the time to sit down and map your USP. What are your customers? What are they after in you? How does your what do you need to do to fulfill that unique selling point and fulfill that value proposition, and then dial it down to what are the points of the digital and in-person journey that need to be automated, that need to be tech driven, and which points need to be human driven, and where does that separate? And then if you're looking at your everything that needs to be automated and where customers interact with you on a technology basis, those are your must haves. And when you sit
Yep.
down and do a demo with a new CRM, don't get distracted by the shiny new toy.
That's right.
Stay in your lane. This is what you need, right? And
Yep.
it's so easy to be like squirrel, like this. Oh, that's so fancy, and I feel like I need that. But as operators, I think it's up to us to stay true to what do our specific customers want. Like here at
Yep.
Styles, I am 75 to 80% female, and I lean into that hard. And we
Sure.
are, 30 to 60-year-old. Like I know the demographic, I know what they're after, I know what they desire, and it's like stick to that.
Yep.
I need to make sure that I'm fulfilling that audience the most because that's my audience. And that's
Yeah,
okay.
boy, that's the basis of strategy. I mean, you're trying to execute a strategy. You're not trying to be all things to all people. And you're so right when you get caught up in the shiny objects in that FOMO stuff where you see things, oh gosh, should not be doing this. And that's
No.
the key. That's why most businesses don't have a strategy, because having a strategy means saying no, right?
Right, right. You got to learn to say no. I mean, I've been on more demos than I'd like to say, and I've said no more times than I've said yes. But a lot of it is like even from the jump before I opened this place, when I was literally writing the business model, and we were starting to set up the operational ecosystem, I had one like statement or question that I would ask myself when I was putting together the original tech stack, and even to this day I use this question: is it frictionless, or does it create more friction? So like,
Yep.
and if I know nothing's perfect, but the
Yeah.
more frictionless I can create for the customer, the better. So as you're sitting in these demos and the shiny new toy pops up, it's like, is that going to create more friction for my customers, or is it actually going to solve problems and help my business run smoother, not more complex? And
Yep.
so that's really almost a discipline, right? As
Yep.
the operator, because these vendors and these techs and they're all going to come out with a shiny new toy, especially now with the integration of AI across all things. And you kind of got to sit there and go, all right, where is this smart to use, and where is this just like, this is ridiculous? It's wasting more time, it's draining more energy, it's causing more friction, right?
Yep. Yeah, it makes sense. And so, you have these challenges, which I'm sure everyone can identify with that are operators. But now you kind of leapfrog in some areas. This is where the opportunity comes in, where you told me about one example being the AI tool you're using to handle your phones, and where
Yes.
you kind of leapfrog. Tell the listeners about that, because that sounds like a very smart thing to have done.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we decided to do a pilot with an AI phone system. Am I allowed to say who it was? Just for people. Yeah. So Soundhound AI.
Yep.
We had met them at a Beyond Active show, and I listened to. I think they were up on stage with somebody from a Planet Fitness group, and they had just done an integration with them. And prior to going, I had actually called up to it wasn't a fitness club, it was something to do with kids. And what was really cool is an AI greeted me and said, everybody is busy with other clients right now, but I'm happy to take a message and have, text you what you need, or, as soon as they're available, they'll answer you. And I just thought it was really clever. And then when I saw this at Beyond Active, I was like, I need to try this, because all day long, if you think about it, like in most gyms, the phone is ringing, your staff are helping other customers, they're off teaching classes, they're with personal training clients, or your front desk is cleaning. And people who are trying to call you are just getting frustrated because the phone keeps ringing and ringing and ringing. And then they leave a voice message that, let's be honest, doesn't get checked for a long time, if ever.
Yep.
And there's just so much delay in support, right? And
Yep.
so this phone system, for example, it was very clever, because I'm pretty sure most of them like this are, but it took me a day to work with them. She locked into my website, learned everything about us, all of our services, and then you can go in and redraft certain things, which took
Mhm.
no time at all. And anyway, I say she because we call her Ava. But when the phone does not ring here now, and what happens is she will pick up and say, something to the effect of, I can see all the, hi, thanks for calling Style Studios Fitness. I can see all of our staff members are with other clients right now, but I'm your new AI assistant, Ava, on a recorded line, and you can talk to me just like a human. Let's see if I can help you. If not, I'll leave them a message and they can, call you back right away as soon as they're available. And she has sold more things for me just by listening, answering, and then text messaging them where to purchase it online than
Yep.
I can say, like than my staff could,
Yep.
And so I'm looking at
Yep.
this going, oh my gosh, this is one function of AI that has been worth its weight in gold, in terms of driving revenue to the club, but also as soon as we're available, like my staff, they see that message come through, who it was, what they wanted, what they were after, and then they can,
Yep.
and it's so clever. I will say this though, AI is still polarizing to
Oh yeah.
people, right? So there is
Yep.
the occasional, dare I say, older generational person or whatnot who has said to me, oh, I just wanted to talk to a person, and then as soon as you explain, well, did we get back to you within 10 minutes? Well, yeah. Would you have been frustrated if the phone kept ringing and nobody answered it for you? Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
Did we
Right.
help you in an expedited way? Well, yeah. And then as soon as you point those things out, it's just change, it's just getting
That's
used to
right.
change. But I did have a doctor in the other day doing a DEXA scan with me as a client, and he thought it was the coolest thing out. He said, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I was expecting the same old press 1 to speak to this department, press 2 to speak to that department. He goes, when she just said, speak to me like a human, I thought, okay. And he asked her about booking a DEXA. She sent him a booking link. He booked his appointment. He spent $200 and then he was here, right? It's like easy,
Easy peasy. Right. Right.
So it's when you can put technology in that creates, um, it helps expedite the client's, satisfaction and journey, and it helps your staff be able to free up to do other things. It helps drive revenue to the facility. When you can tick those different boxes, you're like, okay, I'm on to a winner, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you can't tick those boxes, if you try something and it's not answering any of those, then get rid of it, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. No, that's a great example. Now you're going to be attending FISA, I think, next month, aren't you? Or in February, correct?
February. I can't believe that's next month. Holy cow.
Yeah. Yeah. Holy cow. I know there are going to be a few technology vendors that are going to be there. I'm sure after they hear this, they're going to want to see you and talk to you about your experience because I'm sure it's going to be very helpful.
Well, I'm all ears
Carrie,
'cause I'm still trying
yeah,
to nail it.
yeah, no, that's hey, listen, it's a journey, right? And you've seen a lot of that over the years, like I have, where things kind of come and go, and then there are the things that stick. Um, so Carrie, thank you for making time. I was going to ask you. I always do this at the toward the end of the interview with folks like you. Please share any pearls of wisdom, like 2 pearls of wisdom. You've been very successful in the industry space for a long time in a number of roles. Now, as an entrepreneur, launched a completely new concept, starting in COVID and then moving out of that, thankfully. What are a couple of insights you'd share with the listeners that you've learned over the years that are important to your success?
Oh boy. Well, I think that pearls of wisdom come through struggles and failure.
Yeah, that's
Because
right.
you have, that's the only way that you gain wisdom is to have lived it, right? So I was actually just talking with someone yesterday about this same thing, and it came up, if there was a strategic way that I or anybody could help our industry elevate itself, um, over decades, I would say there was, how can I articulate this well? 2 pieces. One, if our industry could get a heck of a lot better at how we financially structure the setup of a facility or an endeavor before you build it, before you press
Yeah.
go. But if we
Yeah.
could get really good at the playbook of property procurement, how to set up entities so that you're tax advantaged the best, how to do all of those things. If that was something our whole industry was really astute at, I think we as an industry would have less closures, less failures, and we would have, an elevated overall industry. Because I think we are an industry that has thin margins, right?
Mhm.
We just are. We aren't the huge margin industry of like, I look at my partner Dave, and he has a furnace and duct cleaning company, and his profit margins are massive. And I look at that, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so jealous, right? But so I think there's, if I could rewind the clock, I would have set this up differently, right? But now that I know
Mhm.
what I know, whether that's a franchisee coming on board with me or however we expand in the future, corporately or whatever that looks like for my model, I'm now way smarter than I was then, right? In terms of you've lived it, learned it. And the other thing I would say at large, pearl of wisdom, is that can we stop chasing each other to a zero profit margin line? We
Yeah,
got to
price.
stop trying to make things cheap for
Yeah,
volume's sake. I
yeah,
guess our industry needs to stand up and say, look, fitness is valuable. We are valuable, but that means that it costs money, right? Just like anything
yeah,
else. So stop giving
right.
away things for free. Stop doing
Yeah,
all the free things. And, I just, I feel like our industry is obsessed with volume in terms of people per square foot instead of
right.
revenue per head. Like we need to get smarter about that. And when we can do that, we can service more people at a higher quality. And our reputation as an industry elevates because people are happier.
Mhm.
But instead, we keep chasing ourselves to the bottom. And I wish that would stop. I know I'm operating a more premium model, and it's not the low cost, high volume model, which needs to exist. I get that. But I think it's about how we do that, as an industry. So those would be my, I don't know if that's pearls of wisdom, but more elevated thoughts I've had lately.
Well, I think they are pearls of wisdom. Do your homework. Really, really do your homework if you're going to do anything, right? And then number two, don't cheapen your price unnecessarily. You got to build in sustainable margin to be successful. Don't discount or give away things unnecessarily. I think that's pretty wise. Carrie, thank you for all you do. And as far as that goes, you've done a lot of things over your career to help many other people in that journey. And I know that personally. So I really am grateful that you were able to spend a little time with us today. And I hope you have a great 2026, young lady.
Thank you. And I'm super grateful for you, Bryan, and the Fitness Technology Council and everybody on it. It's so great to work with you all. And for all the listeners out there, thank you for fighting the good fight and being a part of this amazing industry that helps so many people. I hope we all have a very prosperous 2026.
I'm hopeful as well. Thanks again, Carrie.
Thank you.